How you doing out there, Internet? I'm back in one of my very rare video appearances. For the most part, my blog has been exclusively text, but all that is about to change. Welcome to the first, but certainly not last, installment of Digging for Gold, the one-stop place for all your juicy comic book news and reviews. First off, I need to get some news out of the way, starting with the movie news. Mark Webb has officially signed on to direct Amazing Spider-Man 2. If you didn't know, he was the director of the first one. He also directed 500 Days of Summer. Also, Iron Man 3 has gone back into production. It had a bit of a hiatus because Robert Downey Jr. messed up his ankle, but it's back on track, and there's actually a trailer getting ready to be released October 23rd. That'll be up on the internet at midnight on that day, so be sure to check it out. In the animated world, Marvel Animation Studios is prepping their first movie to come out April 23rd, 2013. It's a CG Iron Man Hulk team-up movie called Heroes United, and it will have Iron Man and Hulk facing off against a Hulk villain named Zax. Now, it has yet to be seen whether or not this will be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but judging by the one screenshot released, the Iron Man costume does look very similar to the one seen in the Avengers movie, so only time will tell. In printed media, Marvel continues to release teasers with some of January's new books to be released under the Marvel Now relaunch banner. We've got Savage with Frank Cho's name attached. Signs point to this being a Wolverine book, but I think it might have something to do with Shanna the She-Devil and the Savage Lands, given Mr. Cho's propensity to that character. Also coming up is Amateurs by Kieran Gillen and Jamie McKelvey, which is all but confirmed to be a new teen book combining characters from the Young Avengers, the Team Grade, and even a child-sized version of Loki. Needless to say, this is on my highly anticipated list. Moving on, we have Superior. Judging by the creative team involved, this is most likely a relaunched Spider-Man book, but with the major changes to the character coming, according to Dan Slott, we'll just have to wait and see. And finally, this image has been circling the net with no further explanation. A new team of Omega Avengers, perhaps? Stay tuned. And now I'd like to get into a bit of an overview of this week in comics. Zero Month, the gimmick that retold stories we already knew and generally interfered with ongoing plots, is finally over, and we can get back to a forward momentum for the DC Universe. Highlights this week include a special Halloween issue of Action Comics that is a must-buy for crypto lovers, or any dog lover for that matter. A new direction for Detective Comics, with new creative team John Layman and Jason Fabok. This is leagues above Tony Daniel's previous run, and a really great time to jump on the Detective Comics train. It features a substantial amount of dark humor, with Bruce Wayne cutting a check to an orthodontist charity, and then a quick cut to Batman punching a thug's teeth in, with great commentary in between, of course. The writing is top-notch, and I can't wait to see where this Emperor Penguin storyline is going. It's a slew of beginnings this week, actually, as two big events release their first issues. The Rise of the Third Army event begins, with the Guardians of the Universe creating a type of alien zombie creature to assimilate all life in the universe, and the only hope is the new Arab-American Green Lantern, Simon Baz. It's interesting, but it's going a little too slow to be the first part of a huge crossover event. We'll have to see how that goes. Over in the dark corner of the DC Universe is Rot World, the event that's been building up all year with Animal Man and Swamp Thing being thrusted 1 year into the future to find the world has been taken over by rot monsters and all their friends are dead or zombified, including heroes like Hawkman and the Teen Titans. If I had to choose one to get behind, it would definitely be Rot World. Both Animal Man and Swamp Thing have been phenomenal books all year, and they don't show any signs of stopping with this very natural crossover. I'd recommend picking up the Volume 1 trades of both of these books and seeing if they're to your liking. DC also had some other great books out this week. Dial H and Earth 2 are some of my favorites, and both really brought their A-game. But Dial H especially, with the conclusion of its first arc. It's crazy, it's out there, and it's kind of beyond words. Check it out. I'd also like to mention the first issue of Batman Legends of the Dark Knight was released in print form this week. This title has been releasing digitally on a weekly basis for a while, and week in, week out, I'm glad to see it's finally being printed. It's been some of the best Batman stories I've ever read. You don't need any prior information to pick this up, so if you know who Batman is, you won't be confused by long, confusing stories or timelines with crossovers or anything like that. Just sweet and simple stories of a guy dressed up in a batsuit beating up bad guys. You won't be disappointed. Speaking of disappointed, before Watchmen continues to churn out issues week after week, I'm not the type of person to have a moral opposition to this idea. I mean, DC owns the property and they can do whatever they want with it, in my opinion. But it saddens me that such great writers and artists can continually come up with bland, cliche storylines. This week was Rorschach number 2. The art is downright amazing, showcasing a 1970s era New York City straight out of Taxi Driver. It's just too bad that the story is so utterly forgettable. I'd pass on it, honestly. And that's about it for the DC side. Over in the Marvel camp, AVX builds to a crescendo, with October marking the beginning of the Marvel Now initiative. Marvel's plan to relaunch most of their books with new number 1 issues and new creative teams. I'll be covering Marvel Now as much as I can, and let you know what to buy, what to peruse in the store, and what to avoid like the plague. So, with Marvel Now looming so close, endings are a definite theme this week. The final issues of Avengers vs. X-Men and AVX Versus were both released, featuring the final confrontation with the Phoenix Five. I won't go into spoiler territory, but it didn't exactly go in an unexpected direction. It will be interesting to see where Cyclops can go as a character, now that he's being painted as the new Magneto of sorts. My favorite part was actually the side book, AVX Versus number 6, where the whole event was played for laughs, showcasing a verbal abuse battle between Captain America and Cyclops, a battle where Iceman defeats Iron Fist by making it rain thousands of tiny punches, and even a Squirrel Girl vs. Pixie segment where they fight using action figures and dice. It's nice when Marvel can take a step back and realize that comic books aren't necessarily supposed to be so serious all the time. Other books are wrapping up their final stories as well. Uncanny X-Force builds to an epic conclusion, with Genesis having to choose between X-Force, the team that killed him, cloned him, and then raised him based on a lie, or the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, who are using the truth to manipulate him into becoming Apocalypse. The book might have hit its peak during the Dark Angel saga, in my opinion, but that doesn't mean it's not still going strong. Amazing Spider-Man is only 5 issues away from its conclusion, and things are finally getting good again. I don't think anyone liked the Alpha character, and I'm glad he's no longer the focus of the book. Instead, we've got Spidey getting a supercharged Spidey sense, and Hobgoblin hunting another Hobgoblin. It's definitely a fun read, but with each issue I'm starting to dread the big reveal promised for number 700. One interesting note is that this issue is co-written by Christos Gage. Maybe a hint for who could be taking over after Dan Slott leaves? Defenders and Avengers Academy both released their penultimate issues, and they seem to be complete opposites. Defenders managed to feel rushed and truncated, its looming cancellation obviously messing up Fraction's plan for the story. It was still some of Fraction's best mainstream work, but it felt like wasted potential. Avengers Academy, on the other hand, decided to embrace its cancellation and tell a one-off story featuring a flag football game between the X-Kids and the Avenger Kids. Remember what I said about comics not taking themselves too seriously? The writing is outstanding, the jokes hit every time, and if you've been following these characters, the sheer amount of heartstrings pulled is enough to wish you never had to finish the book. In particular, the plot about Rockslide providing a nice perspective for the Metal and Hazmat relationship was very well written, although it makes me feel even more sad for Rockslide as a character. It wasn't all endings, though. One thing Marvel promised as a part of their Marvel Now initiative is a new number 1 to come out every week between October and February. There were actually 2 this week. Of course, there was Minimum Carnage Alpha number 1, a one-shot introduction to kick off the Minimum Carnage crossover. The premise is basically Carnage gets busted out of jail by a slew of characters I've never seen before, and I'll quickly forget about them. Also, he can find the Shrinking Portal and take over the Microverse. And of course, Venom and Scarlet Spider have to team up to stop him. Now, I like both the current Venom and Scarlet Spider books, but judging by this intro, I feel them crossing over will only bring them both down in quality. The whole seems to be less than the sum of its parts in this case. Fortunately, that number 1 was accompanied by another, Daredevil End of Days number 1. This is a what-if story that asks the question, what if Daredevil was killed? What comes after for his friends and family? It's a gripping story with wonderfully gritty art, and it works as a spiritual bookend to Bendis' Daredevil run from a few years ago, even if it's not technically canon. The book makes allusions towards Citizen Kane, and I can see the resemblance, not necessarily in quality, but thematically. It's certainly a bold story for Marvel to tell, and I'm going to be following this 8-issue miniseries to the end with bated breath. The only other thing that I care to mention is the ending of the 4-part Muppets miniseries. It wasn't exactly great, but I'd pick it up anyway if you have kids that are fans of the Muppets, if only to encourage Marvel to use their Disney properties more. Maybe one day my hope of a new Darkwing Duck comic will come true. And that about wraps up my first video segment of Digging for Gold. I apologize if the audio isn't amazing, I'm still experimenting. As always, feel free to shoot me comments, questions, concerns, what have you, and any and all feedback, positive or negative. If you're hearing this on YouTube, you can contact me on my website, digforgold.blogspot.com, or even tweet me at RedComwy. I want to hear from you. So, until next time, one and all, stay golden, and keep reading.